Hello and welcome to Let's Review. Well, it's officially 2015 now, so let's get around to doing that worst list. As with before, only games that I covered for the show are eligible for placing on the worst list, and that's basically all you need to know. Let's get on with this. Space Hulk. I've got to be honest, I don't like putting Space Hulk on this list. It's a Warhammer 40,000 game, and some of those in the past have been really, really good. I maintain that the 40k license can produce some really spectacularly interesting things. Space Hulk is not one of those. Unfortunately, it sticks far too closely to the board game it's trying to adapt, being unwilling to take any kind of a risk, and ending up just as a bland product that gets somewhat boring somewhat quickly. With all that said, I'm hoping that the sequel that's coming out relatively soon can improve on a lot of the elements that did work and can hopefully siphon off the stuff that didn't. At the end of the day, I think there is some potential with this franchise, and I hope to see it do something interesting in the future. Until then, when I want a fix of Warhammer 40k, I'm just going to go back to the Dawn of War franchise. In the annals of utterly boneheaded marketing maneuvers, the thrust to turn old 90s tactical games into first and third person shooters has to be up there as a truly stupid idea. XCOM was never a game that should have been turned into a shooter, and the Bureau just proved that. It was an utterly dull game with a combat system that seems fine at first until you realise how monotonous every single fight is. The boring, bland story did nothing to improve proceedings, and ultimately it just ends up being an utterly boring and tedious game. If you're looking for some 90s nostalgia and want to play a proper XCOM game, go play Enemy Within and Enemy Unknown. They are far, far better options. My review of Rising Angels Reborn is by far my most controversial, earning me my most negative feedback. I personally described it as a very boring game with characters that did not interest me in the slightest. That opinion has not changed. To my mind, the worst sin that a video game can commit is to be boring, and at no point did Rising Angels interest me in any way. It was a mystery story that failed to invest me in the mystery, and it didn't even let me solve it for myself, which was, in my mind, a major flaw, and I don't think could have been recovered even if the characters had been more interesting, which to my mind, they just weren't. Vlad the Impaler is one of those games where the story and the gameplay fight each other, and in a game that's so heavily focused on trying to tell a story, that is a major problem. At the end of the day, it just doesn't work very well, and it's far too short to be really enjoyable. It's also framed as a mystery, but it gives away the identity of the villain in the title, which is a major problem. With all that said and done, Vlad the Impaler is also terrible at explaining itself, particularly during the final battle, which is the one and only instance of combat in the entire game, and as a result you have no idea how effective you will be. Overall, Vlad the Impaler is a poor game that I cannot justify at its price point. There was little doubt that my worst game of 2014 would be Sakura Spirit. It is a dreadful, dreadful game with an attitude to women that I find utterly appalling. It's also barely a video game, qualifying as one only by my most generous definition. It features exactly one moment of interaction throughout its entire length, a pathetically short run length at that, and it has an almost negligible effect on the story, changing virtually nothing. It is a game with zero replayability, it's very, very short, and thankfully I was grateful when it ended. Sakura Spirit is a terrible, terrible video game and is by far the worst thing that I played this year. I hope that I never have to play anything this bad ever again. Although you probably will have to if you continue to run this show. Oh, joy of joys. Anyway, that brings us to the end of our list of the worst games of 2014. Thank you all very much for watching this show. It means an awful lot to me. I hope to see you all in the new year, and we will see what 2015 will bring. Now, if you'll excuse me, I feel like singing along to a song that really encapsulates my feelings about a lot of these games. I will see you later. Take it away, Meatloaf!